Ty's sweat still trickled down Kyle Maddox's face as he stepped out of the makeshift ring in the basement of the cauldron. Victory was his, as always, but the deep gash above his left eyebrow throbbed with a familiar pain. 32 years of fighting, first on the streets, then in the most dangerous underground rings of Chicago, had taught his body to endure much worse. The underground club swarmed with Chicago's darkest elite. Businessmen, politicians, trust fund kids, all masked by the darkness and anonymity that money bought. To them, Kyle was entertainment. To him, they were just an audience for the only time his mind found peace, when his fists met flesh. In the Spartan locker room, Kyle dismissed the man who approached with a towel with a wave. Distrust was his second nature. No one approached him without wanting something in return, and he had learned too early that kindness always came at a price. The door opened again, and this time a woman entered. She carried a medical bag and wore a white coat that seemed absurdly clean in that grimy environment. Kyle studied her with the predatory eyes he always used to assess threats. Brown hair, pulled back in a practical bun, no makeup, understated glasses. She didn't seem to belong in that world. "I'm Dr. Alana Vieira," she said, her firm voice cutting through the heavy silence. "I need to close that cut, or you won't be fighting next." "Weak, sit down." Kyle remained still for a moment, surprised by the authority in her voice. He was used to women who either desired or feared him. This one did neither. She simply saw him as a patient. He sat on the wooden bench, watching as she opened the bag with precise movements. As Alana approached, the subtle scent of antiseptic and a discreet perfume reached him, contrasting with the acrid odor of sweat and violence that permeated the place. "This will hurt," she warned, cleaning the wound with gauze. Kyle didn't flinch. He had felt much worse pain, but there was something about her proximity, the way her hands worked confidently on his face, that created a different kind of tension. He could feel her warmth, hear her controlled breathing. She showed no fear, just a professional concentration that he found intriguing. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice a low growl. "Probably not," she agreed without stopping. "Her work. But someone needs to take care of the damage you guys inflict on each other." There was something in the simplicity of the answer that disarmed him. She wasn't trying to impress or save him, she was just doing her job. When she finished suturing the cut, Alana stepped back to assess her work. "Done. Keep it dry for at least..." Kyle grabbed her wrist before she could move away completely. The touch was electric, sending a current that they both felt. She tried to pull her arm away, but he didn't let go. "What's your name?" he asked. "Dr. Vieira," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I asked your name." Alana hesitated. There was something in the way he was looking at her, an intensity that made her heart race against her will. "Alana." He studied her for another moment, as if memorizing every detail of her face. Then he released her, a nearly imperceptible smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. "Alana," he repeated, as if tasting the name. She quickly packed away her medical instruments, her hands slightly trembling. It wasn't fear. It was something much more dangerous. It was attraction, and she knew she couldn't afford to feel it. She needed this job as much as she hated the environment. Medical school debt wouldn't pay itself, and her salary at the public hospital barely covered her basic expenses. "See you next week," she said, heading for the door. "Alana." She stopped but didn't turn around. "Thank you." The words sounded strange coming from his mouth, as if he wasn't used to thanking anyone. Alana nodded briefly and left, her heart still pounding. Kyle remained alone in the locker room, unconsciously touching the spot where she had worked. Something had changed in those few minutes. For the first time in years, someone had touched his face without it being to hurt or be hurt. It had been to heal, and he knew he wouldn't be able to get her out of his head. A week later, Kyle was in the same locker room, but this time before the fight. He had specifically requested that Dr. Alana Vieira be present. When she entered, carrying the same medical bag, he noticed that she seemed more tense. "I'm just here to check the stitches," she said, maintaining a professional distance. "They're fine," he replied, but didn't move when she approached to examine the wound. The cut had healed perfectly, leaving only a fine line that would be lost among the many other scars that marked his face. As she worked, Kyle studied her profile. There was something different about her today, a stiffness that hadn't been present the previous week. "You okay?" Alana paused, surprised by the question. "I'm working," she replied diplomatically. "That's not an answer." She sighed, finishing the examination. "My supervisor at the hospital asked questions about where I was working on Friday nights. I had to make up a story about private shifts." Kyle frowned. "You in trouble?" "Not yet, but—" She hesitated. "This isn't exactly the kind of work that fits with my career at the public hospital." For the first time, Kyle realized her dilemma. She was there for the same reason he was, because she needed to be. But while he had chosen this world, she was trapped in it by circumstance. "How much do you make a night here?" he asked. "That's none of your business." "How much?" Alana glared at him, annoyed by his insistence. $3,000. More than I make in a week at the hospital." Kyle nodded slowly. "What if I offered you $15,000 a week?" "How?" "To be my private doctor. Exclusive." The silence that followed was loaded with tension. Alana knew that $15,000 a week would change her life completely. She could pay off her debts in less than a year. She could stop working double shifts. She could even consider specializing. "I'd only fight once a week," he continued. "You'd only take care of me. No other fighters, no other injuries." "And what would that mean exactly?" she asked suspiciously. "Means you'd be mine. My doctor, my responsibility, my protection." The way he said "mine" made something clench in her stomach. "I don't belong to anyone." "It's not about ownership, Alana. It's about exclusivity. You'd be the only person I trust to touch me when I'm vulnerable." There was something about the admitted vulnerability that disarmed her. Kyle Maddox, the man she had seen break another man's jaw with one punch, was admitting he trusted her. "I need to think," she said. "You have until tomorrow." "Why the rush?" "Because after tonight's fight, I'll have a whole week to think about you, and I'd rather know you'll be mine before that happens." Alana felt the heat rise in her neck. There was something deeply unsettling about the way he looked at her, as if she were the only real thing in a world of shadows. "I need to go," she said. "Your fight starts in 10 minutes. As she reached the door, he spoke again. "Alana, are you going to watch?" "I never watch." "Watch tonight. I want you to see who I am in the ring." Against her better judgment, she watched, and what she saw haunted her for days. Kyle in the ring was a primal force, controlled but lethal. Every move was precise, every blow calculated. He didn't fight with anger, he fought with a coldness that was much more terrifying. When it was over, demolishing his opponent in less than 3 rounds, his eyes searched for her in the crowd. When he found her, he didn't smile. He just stared at her with an intensity that made her heart pound. That night, Alana lay awake thinking about the offer. $15,000 a week. In a year, she'd be debt-free. In 2 years, she could have her own practice. The offer was too tempting to refuse. But there was something else that kept her awake. The way he looked at her. As if she was the only thing that mattered in his world. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. The next day, she called the number he had given her. "I accept," she said when he answered. "Great. I'll see you tonight to discuss the details." "Where?" "My apartment. I'll send you the address." When she arrived at the apartment in Lincoln Park, she was surprised. She expected something ostentatious, but the place was minimalist, almost Spartan. Few furnishings, white walls, a stunning view of the city. "You seem surprised," he said, pouring her a glass of water. "I expected, I don't know, something different." "You expected the monster's lair?" The question caught her off guard. "I don't think you're a monster." "No, then what do you think I am?" Alana studied him for a moment. "I think you're a man who's learned to survive in a world that doesn't offer kindness. And I think you're tired of surviving." The answer surprised him. No one had ever seen through him so clearly. "You're right," he admitted. "I'm tired. But with you, For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. 3 months later, the routine had been established. Alana arrived at Cale's apartment on Fridays, 2 hours before the fight. She examined him, checked old injuries, prepared everything he might need after the bout. What started as a strictly professional relationship had transformed into something much more complex. Cale started to talk during these encounters, first just comments about the opponents, then about his childhood on the streets of Chicago, about how he learned that the only language the world understood was violence. Alana listened without judging, and that absence of judgment was like water to a man who had spent his life in the desert. "Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a normal life?" she asked one Friday, while checking his reflexes. "Every day," he replied, holding her wrist when she tested the strength of his hands. "But guys like me don't get normal lives." "Why not?" "Because I've already done too many things that can't be undone. I've hurt too many people." Alana stopped what she was doing and looked at him. "Have you ever hurt someone who didn't deserve it?" The question caught him off guard. Kyle thought for a long moment. "No, never." "Then maybe you're not the monster you think you are." That night after the fight, another devastating victory, they returned to his apartment. Alana was treating a cut on the right side of his face when he took her wrist, as he had done that first night. "Alana." "Yes? I need to tell you something." She stopped working, sensing the seriousness in his voice. "What?" "My real name isn't Cale Maddox, it's Carlos Mendez. I changed it when I started fighting professionally." "Why?" "Because Carlos Mendez was a street kid who stole food to survive. Cale Maddox is someone I invented to be strong enough to never go hungry again." Alana processed the information. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're the first person in 10 years who's made me want to be Carlos again." Something shifted in the air between them. The tension that had been building for months finally reached the breaking point. When she went back to cleaning the wound, her hands trembled slightly. "Alana." "Yes?" "Kiss me." She stopped, the gauze still pressed against the cut. "Carlos, I know you feel it too. I know you think about me when you're not here." She didn't deny it because she couldn't. For 3 months she had fought against the attraction that grew every time she touched him, every time he looked at her, as if she was the only woman in the world. "This is a terrible idea," she whispered. "I know. It could complicate everything. I know. We could get hurt." "Alana," he said, his voice husky, "you're already hurting me just by being here and not touching me." She dropped the gauze and kissed him. The kiss was soft at first, hesitant, but it quickly deepened. When they broke apart, they were both breathless. "Okay," she said, trying to pull back. "It happened. Now we can—" He pulled her back, kissing her again, this time with an intensity that made her legs buckle. His hands found her face, fingers tangling in her hair. "No," he said against her lips. "Now that it's started, I won't be able to stop." That night, Alana stayed. For the first time in months, Cale slept soundly, without the nightmares that had haunted him since childhood. Alana watched his relaxed face in his sleep, the lines of tension temporarily erased. In the weeks that followed, they became inseparable. Alana began to spend more time at his apartment, and Kyle began to visit the clinic where she worked day shifts. He would sit in the waiting room just watching her work, fascinated by the kindness with which she treated each patient. "You don't have to stay here," she said one afternoon when she came out to get him. "I like watching you take care of people," he replied. "It reminds me why I'm falling in love with you." The words came out naturally, but they both froze when they realized what had been said. It was the first time the word love had been mentioned between them. "Carlo," she began. "I know it's too soon to say it," he interrupted, "but I love you, Alana. I love you with a way I didn't know was possible." She kissed him right there in the middle of the hospital hallway, not caring who might see. "I love you too," she whispered against his lips, but their happiness wouldn't go unnoticed. At the reception desk, a nurse discreetly photographed the couple kissing. She recognized Kyle from the tabloid newspapers that occasionally covered the underground fight scene. The photo landed in the right hands in less than 24 hours, and the right hands belonged to someone who had been waiting for an opportunity just like this. The photo arrived on Alana's cell phone first. It was a Monday morning, and she was having coffee at Cale's apartment when her phone vibrated. The image showed her and Cale kissing in the hospital hallway with an anonymous message. How interesting to see the good doctor with the brute from the underground fights. What would your family think of this? Alana paled, dropping the phone on the table. Kyle, who was making scrambled eggs in the kitchen, noticed the change immediately. What happened? He asked, approaching. With trembling hands, she showed him the photo. Kyle's face hardened, his expression turning into the dangerous mask he wore in the ring. Who sent it? I don't know. Private number. The phone vibrated. Again. This time it was a call from Dr. Henry Monroe, the medical director of the hospital where Alana worked. Dr. Vieira, I need to see you in my office immediately. Now. Doctor. Cale heard the conversation, already heading to the closet where he kept his clothes. I'm going with you. No, that'll only make things worse. Alana, someone's blackmailing you. You're not facing this alone. But she had already left, leaving him alone with the rage growing in his chest like a caged beast. At the hospital, Dr. Monroe wasted no time with pleasantries. On his desk were printouts of the photo, along with newspaper clippings about Kyle and the underground. Fights. Sit down, doctor. Alana obeyed, trying to maintain her professional composure even with her heart racing. Can you explain this? He asked, pointing to the photos. It's my personal life, doctor. It doesn't interfere with my work. Doesn't interfere? Dr. Monroe gave a bitter laugh. You're romantically involved with a criminal, doctor. A man who makes a living beating other men for the entertainment of thugs and corrupt politicians. He's not a criminal. He participates in illegal activities. Underground fights are a crime, doctor. And now we discover that our most promising doctor is not only involved with this world, but being paid by it. Alana felt the ground crumble beneath her feet. How do you know about the payments? Because someone provided us with your bank statements from the last few months. Weekly deposits of $15,000, always on Mondays. Care to explain where that money comes from? Her hands trembled. I was doing private consultations. For whom? For him? Alana's silence was answer enough. Dr. Vieira, you have two options. Either you immediately end this relationship and never associate with these people again, or I'm obligated to report your questionable activities to the medical board. Your career will end before it even begins. You can't force me to end my personal relationship. I can when that relationship compromises the integrity of this institution. You have 24 hours to decide. Alana left the office in shock. In the parking lot, she called Kyle with trembling fingers. They know everything, she said when he answered. About the money, about us, about everything. Where are you? At the hospital. Carlos, they're going to fire me. They're going to destroy my career. Come home. We'll figure this out together. I can't see you anymore. Alana, don't do this. I don't have a choice. You don't understand. Being a doctor is all I have. It's all I've ever wanted to be. And me? What we have doesn't mean anything. It means everything. That's why it's so hard. She hung up before he could answer. That night, Kyle was at the Cauldron, but not to fight. He was hunting for information. He used every contact he had made in years of fighting to find out who was behind the blackmail. The answer came through Marco, one of the club's organizers. It's the Monroe family, Marco said in a low voice. Dr. Henry Monroe is the brother of Judge Robert Monroe. They have heavy investments in some private clinics. Your girlfriend was being considered for a position in one of those clinics. So they found out she was making a lot of money working for you. They were afraid she wouldn't accept their offer. Kyle felt the rage seethe. So they decided to destroy her life to force her to accept. Exactly. Without you in her life, without the money you pay her, she'll desperately need a better job. Where do I find Dr. Monroe? Kyle, don't do anything stupid. They have power, a lot of power. But Cale had already left, determined to do the only thing he knew how to do. Fight. Even if this time the fight was against an entire system. Meanwhile, Alana was in her apartment, surrounded by piles of bills and bank statements. Without Cale's money, she wouldn't be able to make her student loan payments. Without her job at the hospital, she wouldn't have references to work anywhere else. She was trapped, exactly as the Monroes planned. 3 days passed without Alana answering Cale's calls. She had locked herself in her apartment, trying to find a solution that didn't exist. On Wednesday, she received a call from Dr. Henry Monroe. "Dr. Vieira, I hope you've had time to reflect on our conversation." "Yes, doctor." "Excellent. I have a proposal for you. My brother Robert is opening a private practice in Winnetka. Starting salary of $20,000 plus profit sharing. You would be the chief physician." Alana closed her eyes. The offer was too tempting to be true. "And the conditions?" "You know what the conditions are. End this inappropriate relationship definitively. Never associate with that environment again. And sign a 5-year exclusivity contract." 5 years? "It's a big investment, doctor. We need guarantees." Alana knew she was being manipulated, but she saw no alternative. "I accept." "Excellent. Prepare to start on Monday." "Oh, and doctor, I assume you won't be needing your extra work on Fridays anymore." The scornful tone in his voice made her feel nauseous. On Friday, Cale was in the locker room at the Cauldron preparing for the fight, but for the first time in months, Alana wasn't there. Marco tried to bring in another doctor, but Cale dismissed everyone. "You can't fight without medical assistance," Marco argued. "I can." "Cale, you're not thinking straight. This feud with the Monroes is driving you crazy. It's not a feud, it's war." The fight was brutal. Cale fought with a savagery that startled even the most seasoned spectators. He wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to hurt, to vent the pain and rage that consumed him. When it was over, his arms were covered in blood, his opponent's and his own. In the locker room alone, he tried to clean his wounds with his own hands, but his hands trembled with anger and pain. That's when the door opened. Alana entered, carrying her medical bag. She had tried to stay away, but she couldn't. She knew he would get hurt if she wasn't there. "You shouldn't be here," he said, without looking at her. "I know." She approached, assessing his injuries. "You're hurt." "I'm fine." "No, you're not. Let me take care of you." "Why? You abandoned me." "I didn't abandon you. You chose your career. I get it." Alana stopped, her hands hovering over the wound on his arm. "You think that's what it was? Wasn't it?" "Carlos, they blackmailed me. They found out about the money, about our relationship. They threatened to destroy my career if I didn't break up with you." Cale finally looked at her. "And you caved." "I didn't have a choice. We all have choices, Alana. You chose security. And you? You chose violence, even knowing it would tear us apart. I chose to fight for us. You chose to surrender." The words cut deep. Alana felt tears sting her eyes. "You don't understand. It's not just about me. They have enough power to destroy my family too. My mom, my dad, they depend on me. So you sold our love to protect other people. I did what I had to do. And I'm going to do what I have to do too." There was something in his voice that frightened her. "What do you mean?" "I'm going to end this. I'm going to go to the Monroes and make them back down." "Carlos, no, you can't solve everything with your fists. It's the only language I speak, Alana, the only one they'll understand. And then what? Then you'll be arrested for assault? Then they'll destroy you. You think that'll make me come back?" Cale stopped, his hand on the doorknob. "Then what do you want me to do, to accept that we lost?" "I want you to let me go." The words came out in a whisper, but they cut like a blade. Cale turned slowly to look at her. "You want me to give up on you? I want you to let me have a normal life, to stop fighting the whole world for my sake. Alana, I love you, Carlos, more than anything, but we can't live like this, always running, always fighting, always hiding. I'd change everything for you." "I know, but you shouldn't have to change. You are who you are, and I am who I am. Maybe we just aren't a match." Cale was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was broken. "You're breaking up with me. I'm setting you free." "I don't want to be set free. I want you. And I want you too, but sometimes wanting isn't enough. Alana finished treating his wounds in silence. When she was done, she headed for the door. Alana. Yes? If you change your mind, if you find a way for us to be together, I'll be waiting. She nodded, unable to speak. She left the locker room and the cauldron, knowing that she was leaving behind the only man she had ever truly loved. Kyle was alone, feeling as if he had lost the most important fight of his life. 2 weeks had passed since Alana started working at the Monroe's clinic. The environment was impeccable, the equipment state-of-the-art, and the salary was exactly what they had promised. But something wasn't right. The patients who came in were always the same types: men with suspicious injuries, women with bruises that clearly weren't domestic accidents, young people with signs of overdose. Alana began to realize that she was being used to launder dirty money. The clinic was a front, and she was the respectable doctor who gave legitimacy to questionable operations. When she tried to question some cases, Dr. Monroe was direct. Your job is to treat, not to ask questions. In the 3rd week, she discovered what was really going on. She was organizing some files when she found a folder with her name on it. Inside were copies of all her diplomas, certificates, and a detailed report about her personal life, including photos of her with Kyle that she had never seen before. On the last page, there was a handwritten note. Ideal doctor for sensitive operations. Clean record but vulnerable due to debt. Relationship with Kyle Maddox can be used as leverage if necessary. Alana felt her stomach churn. She hadn't been hired for her medical qualities. She had been chosen because they could control her. And the relationship with Kyle hadn't been an obstacle, but a tool of manipulation. That night, she sought out Kyle at his apartment. When he opened the door, she saw immediately that he was different. Thinner, dark circles under his eyes, a new scar on his chin. Alana? He seemed surprised to see her. Can I come in? He hesitated but stepped aside. The apartment was messy, with empty bottles scattered on the coffee table. You okay? She asked. I'm great, living the dream. The irony in his voice was cutting. Carlos, I found out some things about the Monroes. So what? Didn't you make your choice? I was wrong. They didn't just want to separate me from you, they wanted to use me. Kyle turned to look at her. Use you how? Alana told him everything, about the clinic, about the suspicious patients, about the folder with her name on it. As she spoke, she saw Kyle's expression change. They planned everything from the beginning, she concluded. Even our relationship was used against us. So what do you want? You want me to say, I forgive you? I want you to help me destroy them. The answer caught him off guard. What? I have access to all the clinic's files. I know who the patients are. I know where the money comes from. I can prove they're using the clinic to launder money from trafficking and corruption. Alana, this is dangerous. These people kill for much less. I know, but I can't live like this anymore. I can't be complicit in this anymore. Kyle studied her for a long moment. Why did you come to me? Because you're the only person I trust, and because I love you, and I was an idiot to think I could live without you. You left me. You chose safety. I chose wrong. I chose out of fear, and I ended up in the same situation I was trying to avoid, even worse. So now what? Now I want to fight. I constantly want to be like you, someone who doesn't give up without a fight. Kyle approached her, bending down to look into her eyes. You sure? Because if we do this, there's no going back. They'll come after us with everything they've got. I know. You could lose everything. Your career, your family, your life. I already lost everything when I lost you. He kissed her then with an intensity that spoke of weeks of longing and pain. When they broke apart, they were both crying. I missed you, he whispered. Me too. Every day. Don't leave me again. Never again. They spent the night planning. Alana had access to the files, but they would need more than that. They would need witnesses, concrete evidence, someone willing to talk. I know a journalist, Kyle said. He's covered some underground fights. He's honest, not afraid of powerful people. What if it doesn't work? It will, it has to. What if they find out before? Then we fight. Alana smiled for the first time in weeks. Together? Together. The next morning she went back to the clinic as if nothing had happened. But now she had a purpose. Every file she copied, every conversation she overheard, every name she wrote down was a weapon against the Monroes. During lunch she received a message from Kyle. Found the journalist. He wants to see us tonight. Alana typed the reply. I'll be there. For the first time since she had met Kyle, she felt truly strong. She wasn't running from the fight anymore, she was running towards it. The journalist, Rafael Costa, was a man in his late 40s with tired but determined eyes. He met Alana and Kyle at a discreet coffee shop in Wicker Park, far from the prying eyes of downtown. You know what you're getting into? Rafael asked, after reviewing the documents Alana had brought. The Monroes aren't just powerful doctors. They have connections with judges, politicians, even some cops. This clinic is just the tip of the iceberg. We know, Alana replied, but we can't let this go. This evidence is good, but it's not enough. We need something more concrete, someone willing to talk on the record. I can get that, Alana said. There's a nurse at the clinic, Paul. He's just as disturbed as I am by what's going on. Be careful, Alana, Kyle warned. If they suspect anything, they won't suspect. I know how to handle this. But on Monday, when Alana arrived at the clinic, something was different. Dr. Monroe was waiting for her in his office, accompanied by two men in suits she didn't recognize. Dr. Vieira, please sit down. Alana felt her heart race but maintained her composure. Good morning, doctor. These gentlemen are security consultants. We've had some issues with leaks of confidential information. What kind of leaks? Someone is passing information about our patients to the press. That's a serious violation of medical confidentiality. Alana forced an expression of surprise. That's serious. Any suspects? As a matter of fact, yes. Dr. Monroe opened a folder on the desk. You've been very interested in files that don't directly concern your patients. I was just familiarizing myself with the clinic's procedures and the copies you made. Alana felt her blood run cold. What copies? Dr. Vieira, don't underestimate us. We have cameras everywhere. One of the men in suits showed her some printed photos. Alana could see herself clearly copying documents. I can explain. No need, we already know everything. We know about your meeting with the journalist Rafael Costa. We know you're back with your fighter boyfriend. We know you're trying to harm us. Alana tried to stand up, but one of the men blocked the door. You can't keep me here against my will. We're not going to. You're free to leave at any time. But if you go out that door, some very unpleasant things are going to happen. What kind of things? Dr. Monroe smiled coldly. Your mother works as a nurse at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, doesn't she? It would be a shame if she lost her job because of accusations of medical negligence. Or if your father had problems with the IRS due to some inconsistencies in his tax return. You can't do that. We can, and we will, unless you stop this foolishness immediately. Alana felt her legs weaken. What do you want? We want you to continue working here, doing your job, without asking questions. We want you to break up with Kyle Maddox for good, and we want you to hand over all the copies you made, as well as convince your journalist friend to forget this story. And if I don't do it, then your family will pay the price. And as for your boyfriend, Dr. Monroe paused for dramatic effect. Accidents happen in the ring. It would be tragic if the invincible Kyle Maddox suffered a permanent injury during a fight. Alana's blood boiled. You're threatening to hurt him? We're saying that we can't always guarantee the safety of everyone involved in these risky activities. Alana realized she was cornered. Once again, they were using the people she loved against her. But this time something different happened. Instead of despair, she felt a cold fury take over her. I need time to think. You have until tomorrow at 6 in the evening. Bring the copies and a signed statement recanting everything you told. The journalist. When Alana left the clinic, her hands were shaking, not with fear but with rage. She called Kyle immediately. They know everything, she said when he answered. Where are you? Leaving the clinic. Carlos, they threatened my family, and you too. Come home. Now. At the apartment, Alana told Kyle everything. He listened in silence, his expression becoming darker with each word. They want me to give up, she concluded, to hand over the evidence and break up with you. And are you going to do it? Alana stared at him with a determination he had never seen before. No. I'm tired of running, Carlos. I'm tired of letting them control my life. Alana, they can hurt your family. Then let's prevent them from having that chance. How? By attacking first. I'm going to call Rafael right now. We'll publish the story before they can do anything. They'll come after us with everything they've got. I know, but I'd rather fight and lose than surrender without a fight. Kyle smiled for the first time in weeks. Now you're talking my language. I learned from the best. They spent the night organizing all the evidence, preparing a strategy. Rafael agreed to expedite the publication of the article, but warned them that they would have perhaps 24 hours before the Monroes found out and reacted. After this goes public, Kyle said, there's no going back. I know, Alana replied, I'm ready. But while they were planning, the Monroes were also preparing. Dr. Monroe had made some calls and resources were being mobilized. If Alana thought she could challenge them, she was about to discover just how far their power really reached. The war was declared, and both sides knew that only one would emerge victorious. Rafael Costa's article was published the next morning on the website of Chicago's most read news outlet. The title was devastating. Elite clinic used to launder money for organized crime. The report contained all the evidence Alana had collected, including photos of the documents and testimony from Paul, the nurse who had finally agreed to talk. At 8 in the morning, Alana received the first call. It was Dr. Monroe, and his voice was laden with a cold fury. You've made a very serious mistake, Doctor. The only mistake I made was trusting you, Alana replied, surprising herself with the firmness in her own voice. You have no idea what you've just unleashed. You're not going to do anything. The article is already being shared by thousands of people. The FBI has already opened an investigation. You lost. It's not over yet. The call was cut off, but Alana wasn't intimidated. She and Kyle were at his apartment, following the developments online. The article had gone viral and other outlets were already reporting the story. You did it, Kyle said, hugging her from behind as she read the comments on the computer. We did it, she corrected. That's when they heard the noise at the door. It wasn't a knock, it was someone forcing the lock. Kyle reacted immediately, pushing Alana behind him. Police? She whispered. No, police knock. 3 men entered the apartment, all armed. Alana recognized one of them. It was one of the security consultants who had been at the clinic. Cale Maddox, the man said, you and your girlfriend are coming with us. We're not, Kyle replied, positioning himself between the men and Alana. It's not an invitation. What happened next was too fast for Alana to fully process. Cale moved like lightning, disarming the first man with a move she recognized from the training sessions she had watched. But it was 3 against 1, and even with all his skill, Cale couldn't handle everyone simultaneously. That's when Alana grabbed one of the chairs from the table and broke it over the back of one of the attackers. The man fell, stunned, and Cale managed to subdue the second. The third, seeing the situation deteriorate, ran for the door. Call the police, Kyle shouted, holding one of the men on the floor. But it wasn't necessary. The apartment soon filled with FBI agents. Apparently, Rafael had coordinated with the authorities, and they were monitoring the situation. Dr. Vieira, Mr. Maddox, said the FBI agent leading the operation. You're safe now. We have arrest warrants for the Monroe brothers and everyone involved. In the hours that followed, Alana and Kyle gave their statements, providing all the details they had about the scheme. Dr. Henry and Robert Monroe were arrested in the late afternoon, along with dozens of others involved. What now? Alana asked when they were finally alone again. Now you're free, Kyle replied. Free to work wherever you want. Free to live however you want. And you? Me? I'm free to be with you, if you still want me. Alana smiled, approaching. Him? I'll always want you, Carlos. Even when you were Kale Maddox, even when I was afraid, even when I was an idiot and tried to push you away. You weren't an idiot. You were protecting the people you love. And you were trying to protect me. We're quite a pair. Kyle laughed, a sound she hadn't heard in a long time. We are. So, what are we going to do now? I was thinking, maybe it's time for me to stop fighting. Alana looked at him in surprise. You sure? I am. I found something worth fighting for more, our future. And what are you going to do? I thought about opening a gym, teaching young people to defend themselves, but in a legal way, giving them an alternative to the streets. I'd love to help. I could take care of the medical side, teach first aid. You'd do that? I'd do anything, as long as it's by your side. 6 months later, the Mendez Academy was operating in a renovated warehouse on the south side. Carlos had gone back to using his real name, and Alana worked part-time there, part-time at a public hospital where she could finally practice medicine without pressure or blackmail. The trial of the Monroes had ended with heavy convictions. The clinic was closed, and several other companies linked to the scheme were investigated. Alana had become something of a heroine in the press, the courageous doctor who stood up to me, corruption. Do you regret it? Carlos asked one night as they watched a group of teenagers training. Regret what? Giving up a brilliant career at a fancy clinic. Alana kissed him softly. My most brilliant career is being here with you, making a difference in these kids' lives. I love you, Alana. I love you too, Carlos. Forever. As they watched the young people train, Alana thought about how much life had changed. She had started that journey as a desperate doctor, trapped by debt and circumstance. Now she was a free woman, strong enough to fight for what she believed in. And by her side was the man who had taught her that fighting didn't just mean using your fists. It meant having the courage to stand up for what's right, even when the whole world is against you. They had found each other in the middle of the darkness, and together they had created their own light, completed.